Welcome to your weekly program, Blahdan, a show with an accent for those without one. Everybody knows now that, the news 24/7, we're trying to keep up with our president, the 45th, right? General Trump, he started acting like he's a general dictator in a third world country. A lot of people talking about what is going on. This guy's been firing everybody right and left. Anybody disagree with him? He's fired about 3 major government officials, the last one is the FBI director, Mr. Comey, and he fired him when he was on a mission, on a trial, and a lot of people say he fired him because he was getting closer investigation about the connection between Trump campaign and the Russians. Russian behind everything, behind his win, behind everybody hacking. So even the Russian flu, just blame it on the Russians. Anyway, so we try to figure out what's going on in Trump. Is he for real? And why is he still getting the support of the Republican Party? The Republican Party now start acting like insurgents and like a hate group. First they hate the sick with their health care bill. They hate the poor. They hate the blacks, Muslims. It's a hate group. And we have here political consultant Bob Meek, and he usually comes here and tries to explain things to us. Welcome to Blahdan, Bob. I know, I've been following your activity and your writing about this, the latest debacle of firing the director of FBI. He's been there for 10 years. This guy's been there since what, Bush?
Well, I think he's just finishing he was actually appointed early by Obama. I think he's just finished like 6.5 years of a 10-year term. He was thought to, he's a Republican. But he was, sort of pictured as this nice, reliable Boy Scout until he handed the election to Donald Trump, writing that little letter.
But the email.
Yeah, and so ironically, Trump has now turned on the fellow who handed him the presidency.
And he was, Trump also was a big fan of him,
Well,
most honest, the most reliable on all of this.
Trump had so many good things to say about him until it would appear that the investigation that Comey was leading was getting too close to whatever the various scandals are. And I, just as a political observer and sort of watching things, I get the feeling it has less to do with the manipulation of the voters and the 2016 election, and it has more to do with laundering Russian money through Trump business entities.
Well, since when Trump and the Attorney General care about Hillary Clinton,
right?
All of a sudden they want to. According to them, she is a crook and she should be on trial. She should be in jail.
Yeah.
So I think they are veering away from Hillary Clinton connection, and now they're talking. I am the one who fired him because he's incompetent. He's not doing a good job, whatever there is.
Right.
And so let's go to the job of FBI director. You said it's 10 years?
Yeah, he has a 10-year term, which is supposed to insulate him from politics.
Yeah, so you can be in 2 different terms or 3 or whatever.
But nevertheless,
he's presidents.
Presidents, but nevertheless, he serves at the pleasure of the president. So a president is able to fire him. Now, it's hard because J. Edgar Hoover, the first director of the FBI, served for like 50 years until he died in bed one night. And yeah, they couldn't get him out of office any other way. And
It's like Mubarak.
and so a lot of people say, well, you know, there haven't been very many FBI directors who have ever been fired.
Yeah.
Well, that's true because one guy hung on for 50
We
years.
didn't have that many of them.
Right, and the only other one that was fired was under President Clinton, and he was an FBI director who was using the FBI plane on weekends to take his family on the holidays.
Well, you get some perks. What's so that guy? That guy caused a lot of deaths all over the country, award, because just use the plane once. But you know, I'm glad it wasn't about Monica. You know, Clinton. So the Republican I say, well, Clinton did it, but you know, can you mess around with the FBI director as a president? With the FBI in general?
There's an argument that you can't, and they've brought out the term deep state to describe the intelligence aspect, both the domestic and foreign intelligence. And you know, if our history, as we know it, is correct, it was FBI Assistant Director Mark Felt, who was the famous Deep Throat character that gave the Washington Post's Woodward and Bernstein just enough evidence and ideas to keep on
the investigation going.
And then, and that's maybe has 80% agreement. And then there's a smaller but fairly strong argument that if you go through the burglars and the people who were involved in the original Watergate break-in, and then who were also part of the plumbers, the people who were going out to get Nixon's enemies, Daniel Ellsberg, for example, well, it turns out a whole bunch of those people were all directly connected with the CIA, and they were active back in the late 40s when the CIA was getting going, and we were having the Russian scare and the McCarthyism, and then they were active during the Bay of Pigs, and then they were active during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and then they happened to be hanging around during the JFK assassination, and then the next time you read about them is Watergate. And these are all characters, their resumes go back to those various events, and they're involved with the CIA portions of those events.
Because wasn't they were one agent in the beginning or something that was separating and then became one foreigner one? But
in that way of history, you really can't fight with the intelligence state. They were even able to bring Richard Nixon down when he started to operate as if he could be independent of them.
When he started his own CIA or whatever intelligence.
That's right.
And it has nothing, it has little to do with the Belgrade and all. This is just, I'm sure most parties, they spy on each other all the time. It's not really a major crime.
What was different there was that you had these $1 million secret, and at that time it was quite a bit of money, secret kiddies that were using to pay off to do espionage
independently.
Yeah.
You know, Krugman, from the New York Times and Chomsky's came up with a new startling accusation of the Republican Party, not just Trump. And I think both of them agree that you can actually make a case that the Republican Party committed an act of treasons. And based on Krugman, active treasons because for domestic, Russian and politics and supporting a maniac like Trump. But also, Chomsky looking at it, they are really committing a major blunder with their climate change supporting, anti-science, and that could be dangerous than, any other nuclear whatever. That climate not supporting climate change, they could commit a major humanitarian or a crime against humanity. So both agree that there's a treason's base for accusation, but for different reasons. Are they out of line?
No, they're very close to it. Back immediately post World War II, the Republican argument against the Truman administration and the State Department was who lost China, as if we had China to lose, but that it became communist, and so it happened under a Democratic administration. So who lost China? Well, on the basis of climate change, Democrats are going to be in a pretty good position to argue, well, who lost the Earth? I mean,
a little bit bigger than China.
Yeah, and you people are so parochial.
Yeah,
but
they are really. There's something about the. I don't know. Go ahead.
But
finish.
no, it's Republican politics, and taking nothing away from everybody has a right to their opinion.
Yeah.
But it's about abortion. So they want the Supreme Court that is going to take down Roe v. Wade and give the abortion powers back to the states. And the whole reason a fundamentalist, a holy roller could vote for Trump, the Antichrist, was that he was going to give them pro-life Supreme Court justices. Well, he's already done that. So from their perspective, all of this stuff that we're grousing about is, sour mash. I mean, he's done he's getting us our Supreme Court.
Yeah, that's why I was supporting from the beginning.
And if you're the Koch brothers, this guy, he's giving us back coal. He's stripping those regulations away. He's going to have us drilling in the national parks. He probably, And so Republican interests then start becoming pretty easy to identify. You can do anything you want, but give us the pro-life justice. You can do anything you want, terrible, but give us our coal interests and we'll be fine. And then there's this third aspect, which is if you'll beat up on minorities, if you'll take care of Muslims and blacks, and you'll give us back our white nationhood. If you'll do that, you can go mess up the world however you want. And I think a lot of Republican people, like President George W. Bush, President H.W. Bush, they would be embarrassed to actually make that deal. But Trump is willing to do it.
I thought there are gains and progression in the last 30, 50 years. I mean, we're talking about, things happened 60 years ago, at least, and maybe before that. But the thing is now the Republican go back to abortion and gay marriage and all of this, and leave the earth and leave climate and leave the health care and the people, millions of people will lose their health care and millions of people are going to die because they want to get the abortion back and want to get the gay marriage revoked. I mean, are we back to negativism? Where are we going?
Yes, but as some of your Krugman and others have pointed out, it's like the healthcare business, banding Obamacare and such. That's not. Its basic design isn't. Its basic motivation isn't to make people's healthcare and lives worse. Its basic motivation is to give billions of dollars of tax cuts back to the
1%.
to the even higher in that bracket. It's called a health care bill, but no, its real effects are it's a tax bill that takes $800 billion out of 10 years of Medicare and hands $1 trillion plus in tax cuts to the absolute, top 1% of the country. Now, we can have this huge argument about health care and everything, but that's what they call that, where you got the shells at the carnival, and it's like, where the P is under which of the shells. That's the game they're playing with us.
But, they've been after the Medicare for a long time, and I mean, this, I don't know how many $1 trillion have been sitting there, and probably one of the most effective government program, and now wouldn't that backfire? And then we have Bernie and his whatever supporter now coming up. Well, it's one single payer,
right,
and we're gonna go to all Medicare, and everybody gets the same health care. And wouldn't be that the natural reaction to this?
Well,
overreaching?
You would think so.
Because Hillary tried to get this
Yep.
During her husband, and it backfired, and then we got whatever. Had to set back for 10 years to get back to Obamacare.
So, supposedly what is happening is, look, we just can't afford to pay for human beings anymore. And so robots, it's not like our jobs are being shipped overseas. You walk through any General Motors plant and any high-tech plant here, and no, it's robots are doing them. And
they don't need insurance.
Yeah, and they don't have any health care costs.
Yeah.
And so, and they don't have any retirement. They can go through all.
Don't go on strike.
And so, if from the normal Republican way of winning is you take big tax cuts to help your corporate side, and then you pull some of these social conservatives in through abortion and gays, et cetera, et cetera. The Trump argument isn't even sane enough to make that
argument
hold together.
Yeah.
Yes, he has. I mean, okay. I think he's just a fascist. He is that three-year-old dictator that is going to have his way no matter what the price to the country. But it's going to take a couple years of suffering on the part of the American people.
But how, if that's the case, how could the career politicians that they have, Trump guy can't be jailed, impeached, whatever, is going to be gone sooner or later.
Yeah.
But those career an establishment and the people who banking on this guy, they might be on the losing end.
But if you read the history of 1928 to 1938 Nazism, believe me, the conservatives in the cabinet were all too happy. Oh, we're only going to give Hitler and his boys 3 seats in the cabinet. Yeah. We'll have 8. Well, what you're finding is, whether it's the Steve Bannon part of the Republicans or the liberal Jared Kushner part or whatever, they're out for themselves. The first thing they're doing is they're cashing in. These people are going to rob the taxpayers blind. And then the second part is, oh, by the way, we've got the power, and we have no intention of giving it back.
So when they say they get the majority in the House and in the Senate, so what's the role of the Democrats? They are sitting helpless here, or what? What can they do?
Well, Democrats must have a laser focus on retaking the House of Representatives in the 2018 elections. Yeah. And the reason is we have to get subpoena power back. Right now, the only people with the subpoena power, the House majority, the Senate majority, and most of all, the administration, the Department of Justice. Uh-huh. Until we get the subpoena power back, we can't have hearings. We can't compel people to testify. We can't compel people to turn up documents. Now, there are some private attorneys involved in it's called the shadow cabinet, the Democratic shadow cabinet, and they're involved in trying to, give us some leverage through private court action. But our only really hope is
It's
to
very hard to
win the
prosecute
House
a
back.
president in a private court, was it?
Remember Judicial Watch under Obama? They tangled up the administration. They were the ones who sued to get the White House logs. I mean, you can find narrow areas,
I see.
and you can tie them up on these things. But
So it's not, this is not going to end very soon. It seems like a complicated process, and a lot of people talking about, that Trump is really digging his own grave. But it seems like, this guy managed to find another blunder that covered the previous one, and the headline will change.
Yeah, and now here's the good side of all this. A lot
There is
of
one?
oh yeah, there is. A lot of people, they love to study the Revolutionary War, or they love they love to study the Civil War. And well, look, you can be just as noble as these forebears that you're so eager to honor and study for the American Revolution, for defeating fascism in World War II. Hey, you've got the opportunity to do the same thing here and today. Yeah. That's how serious it is.
You were asking for revolution?
Well, a revolution has been made against us. It happened to have been, the interesting technical part was done by Russian hackers, but the collusive. I mean, how in the world do you have you fire the you fire the director who's investigating you for your collusion with the Russians, and just coincidentally, the next day you have the Russian foreign minister and ambassador into the Oval Office.
Alone.
Yeah. Now, can you make your points any clearer?
Well, I think he's playing with us. I mean,
yes.
This guy is like his reality TV, and I think this is all fun. And I think eventually he's going to shoot himself in the foot. That all the people who've been supporting him, even directly and indirectly, they're going to just, leave him alone.
And at least in the back of their minds, they think, well, you see, if something would happen to Trump, I mean, the day that we would decide to go along with the Democrats and hold impeachment hearings, we get to have President Pence. Well, I think, he's as bad as Trump.
Yeah.
But, gee, who's the third person? Oh, we get to have President Paul Ryan.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it's not like they have got backups.
They doubled down on everything, and
yeah.
I think this is really it says something else about who we are in America, and it seems like the 8 years of Obama, it was going one direction at least. The guy smile and get on his drone is a little bit mask, but Trump is just out there and normalize racism, normalize fascism, normalize bombing. But anyway, thank you so much, as usual, Bob.
Glad to see you're still here.
Exactly. And hopefully nobody will follow you home. Because this guy said, it's even tweeting to Comey, that's be careful what you say. We are taping, or maybe we taped everything, our conversation. So it's just like mafia,
But, I send the note in on my tax form. I support the FBI. I support the CIA.
IRS. I support even the IRS.
I'm not with the Trump people. I'm not trying to fire you. I'm not trying to, yeah.
That's very funny. Okay, well, thank you so much. That concludes our show, and that's the reality TV will continue. We'll see you next week. Assalamu alaikum, and God bless you all.